All right. Let's get it going right here, right now. This is TMI. And you're listening to another new episode of TMI right here on the Shelly Martinez YouTube channel. If you didn't know by now, my name is Chad, and every single week I'm joined here on Too Much Information by the host of TMI, the one and only Vampire Queen, Miss Shelly Martinez.
What's going on? Ooh, what a week it's been, brother. What a week it's been. What a day it's been, too. But here we are, TMI. I got a lot of TMI to share.
Oh, I hope it's not that kind of TMI, but nonetheless, I'm sure any TMI is good TMI.
You know why I say that? Because, okay, today has been such a day. And I thought today was like, like when we talked about, on Saturday, we'll record. Of course, my day went completely opposite of how I thought. I was like, oh, perfect. I have the whole day to I'll go set myself up and and get nice and ready, really take my time. Because here's the thing. Something you don't have to worry about, Chadster, is putting on your hair and doing your hair and makeup. You just put on an outfit and go. And then some can say, why even do that? Who cares? I care. I do. Because I do. So I was really looking forward to taking my time, putting on my makeup, taking my time setting up, just really ease on into it because I had quite the week. And then boom, the wrench came this morning, brother. And today has been chaos through and through to where prior to shooting, I was bawling my eyes out. So I shout out to my makeup that it didn't even move. So yeah, and then I pulled it together and now I'm here. And when I said TMI, because I might have a little bit of diarrhea of the mouth tonight of just saying a little bit too much TMI, because we have to kick off tonight's show after the week and day I had with a shot.
Oh, wow. I was included into the shot taking. I would have.
Sorry, this happened when you were trying to figure out your weather situation over there. That's when I was like, dude, let's go.
I would have. If I had it, I would have.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have given you the memo, even though it was short notice. But
okay.
Here we go. Cheers to the show. Cheers to you, Chadster. I just love doing a little TMI with you every week.
TMI. Boom. Knock one back for the Chadster. Listen, I will tell you something. You don't know this about me, but there is something known as putting the Chadster face on. So that is that is not fully true. I do have to get prepared. Chadster has to get into the Chadster zone. Okay. So when I record, I put the Chadster face on. I mean, it is not just, pop down in the chair and ready to go. I got to get the Chadster face on too. I mean, that's a whole thing. It's a whole routine.
Very, very fair. Okay. So in saying that, look at this wing eyeliner. Look at that. Perfect. My eyeliner, ladies, perfect. You know what? It takes a lot. And here's the thing. So much so that I noticed that because I'm right-handed, when I do the left side of my face, it doesn't always line up with my right, of course. So what I've been doing for about 1.5 years now is I force myself to do my eyeliner with my left hand, and it feels so weird because I'm like, that's the only way I'm going to get it. And then they say if you exercise both sides of your brain, like using both hands, it's really, really good, like for that brain muscle there. So we shall see what happens. I'm curious to see at the two. I started it at the sushi store. The shots are getting to me.
Okay, the sushi shore.
Okay. The sushi shore, the sushi restaurant I love to go to. One time, because I take my dogs everywhere, it was just Minnie at the time. And so I had her leash when we were at the patio, because that's where you can take your dog. I had it around my right hand. So I was like, shoot, I didn't want to be bothered with doing the whole thing. So I started eating my chopsticks with the left hand. And that's when I was like, you know what? Again, going back to using that side of your brain that you normally wouldn't for that function. And I feel with all the experience I've had with doing the chopsticks, and it still feels weird, but not as much. That's why this eyeliner, I'm able to pull it off. So things like that, or my eyeshadow looks great. Shout out to me. You don't have to worry about those things. I know you. Okay, the Chadster, the Chadster face. I take it back. There is some preparation, and you do. This is why not everyone's cut out to do what we do, because you got to put on your Chadster face, and some people can't put on that face. But it's very trivial at times when I'm trying to get ready, and I'm like, "Why won't you stay? Why?" And or the eyeliner will be up here. It gets smudged, and it's like,
it's essentially you look like you're putting on like Luna Vachon makeup across the side when you put on the left
shout
side,
out.
because you do like a whoops, and now you've got
Oops.
Luna Vachon like stress marks across the side of your
Luna,
skull.
dude. Shout out to Luna wherever she is. Dude, she was so freaking kind to me every single time I've had conversations with her. Her and Chyna were always so cool to me. And then the thing is, especially Chyna, it blew my mind, the little mark in me, that like they were so like treated me the way they did. And then when I got older and was learning more about myself and my journey in life, it made sense. They knew how I felt. They saw in me a part of them. And even there was a time where, when I wrestled in Germany, Gangrel and we did it together, or we were doing the shows together. And I remember we were in, because when we go to Germany, they have us stay in this really cute hotel that's like really small and kind of quaint. It makes you feel like you're like in a house almost. And they have a cute bar. Oh my gosh, it's so cute and tiny inside there. And me and Gangrel were just like shooting the SH. And then I brought up Luna and I was telling him, and then he filled in the blanks for me to where that's why I was like, dude. And it's so cool because early on in my career, when I was Desire here in SoCal, if you know, I used to paint veins on me because I wanted to be living dead girl, right? And then one time, Rocky Romero, he was like Rocky Romero, and most people know him from the Lucha Underground, but Ricky Reyes is how
Ricky
I always
Reyes, yeah.
Havana Pit Bulls. I always credit them as the first people, and Frankie Kazarian and Iceman John Black, the first people that trained me. They were my first trainers. They are. Shout out to them. And I remember he was like, "Oh, I like those Luna veins." And I was like, "Wait a minute. Yeah, Luna. Yeah." And so even though my disposition of it was living dead girl, it was so cool that even then somebody was like, "Oh, Luna veins." And then fast forward, I had this cute little relationship with her, and we bonded because she knew she was older than me, so she probably saw a version of her in young Shelly at that time, and she was so nice to me, dude. I can't. There's a photo of us out there, and I can't find it. So if anyone out there can find it, or you have it, please send it to me on Twitter or Instagram. Tag me because it's a good photo.
That's awesome. How about Chyna? So did you interact with her at all?
Oh my gosh. So going back to what we've talked about here on TMI, my old Batista story. Which, by the way, you guys, if you haven't already, go check out the latest Vampire Radio, because I interviewed a vampire named Kevin Thorne and I got his side of the story. And Chad, I brought up how on our show here that you said, "Oh, that you were kind of disappointed that no one like kind of stepped in." And then that's when, like, that whole moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, it was Kevin." I got to tell Kevin that because before I shared with him that part, it was so cool because it was so real. Like when I was telling, at first I said, "You tell me your version." And then he said it. And then I said, "Well, this is my version." And then I told him the story I always would say, like how I said on here on our show. And then when I told him, I said, "I felt like you left me there when you just went off to Batista," that whole part. He was like, "No, no, I probably was just," and he felt so bad that I felt that way. It was such a moment. So it was cool to see his energy when I told him that we talked about that on here and how it took for you to bring up, how come no one stepped in? And that was that missing piece that I needed to be like, holy crap, Kevin stepped in. Kevin had my back, and it was such a cool moment. So if you haven't guys watched it, go check it out. But shoot, now I went off on a tangent because I went off in that like little rabbit
China.
hole.
We're
So
back
what was my
talking about
oh China?
China.
So back when I was really feeling that space in my mind, body, and soul of like I felt abandoned and all this, I would go on YouTube and I would just type up like, WWF, WWE, women wrestler, done dirty, anything to find somebody that did a shoot interview that was a woman that was in the business that was on television at some point, whether it was WCW or at that time, because TNA still was building up, so I didn't even think about TNA, but I was like WCW, Mexico, WWE, WWF, and I really only found China doing these vlogs where she was like talking about like Triple H and this and that. Like it was like just real. It wasn't a shoot video. It was just her filming herself in pain, dude, trying to tell her side of the story. And that was the only content I could find that made me feel not alone, that made me feel understood. And then that's when I reached out to her and we would talk and share. And that's when I was like, holy crap, China understands me. Freaking China? The freaking China. Not only with like the business, but like how she had the porno, how she was on Surreal Life. And I was friends, we lost contact now with Adrienne Curry, who was on America's Top Model, and she was in that house with China. And her and I would talk about the business and how toxic it is and how the wrestling business is. I remember one time she was like F WWE because she knew because of freaking Joni, man. And so I don't talk about it enough. I just should because it just doesn't come up. It's not like a secret, but man, China was there for me. It was brief, but she was there for me. Our energies aligned and when we would connect, it was organic. But then when I would step back after the conversations and reflect, I was like, this is China. This is effing China. And she knows, man. She gets it. So, yeah, dude, that's my China story. I wish I could have been in touch with her more because I was even in touch with her to the point where right before she moved back to California to live, I believe, with the manager, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
and everything what followed.
Yeah.
So I was in touch with her till that, like right before she came back to California. And I do not talk about, again, not because it's a secret, but because it just doesn't come up. Because honestly, China and Francine are the only people in the business that I feel know what I've gone through.
It's fair. One of them's not here to talk about their side of it, so that's that's a fair assessment. I could tell you this. So I interviewed China the night she stepped off the plane coming back from Japan. The night she literally was back in the US for the first time in I think it was 5 years or something. And it was a short interview. It was maybe 10, 12 minutes. But that manager was such a piece of shit and really did her dirty in some ways. Some ways I think it's been documented how he's done her dirty. But that night after we did the interview, he asked how we could get her on TMZ if possible. And I had to call somebody that I knew who was a TMZ photog to give him the tip of where China was going to be the next day to get her a little bit of press. But it was a mess at first. So I hope the China that you got to talk to had no like filter, because it seemed like the guy she was with, that producer, manager, whatever, was a puppet master of sorts and was real bad. Now, I'll also throw this in there too. It seems like they're really trying to control the narrative as it relates to Chyna the last couple of years versus even the first few years after she passed away. They're really trying to spin it back to she's the trailblazer, she's this, and she's that. And that was like virtually gone from about 2001 to, I don't know, 2021, 2022. Now it's Chyna's a trailblazer. But I'm sure in your conversations with her, she talked about how she was persona non grata.
Here's the thing. This is why when whoever handles her Instagram, or excuse me, her Twitter now, I never put over when they're like, Chyna for the Hall of Fame. I'm like, one time I wrote the person, do you really feel like that's what she wanted? Because what the person I talked to, no, not at all. And they told me yes. And then I thought, okay, who am I? I was just like, I don't know her like that well. I just like had my conversations and my connection, right? But based on my experiences with her, it just didn't seem right. She don't like them. She doesn't want them to profit off of her even more.
Yep.
But whoever handles her Twitter assured me that she did want that. Maybe she did. Maybe she changed her mind, or maybe she had a change of heart. But it still bothers me to this day, and I never retweet, I never interact when it's like Chyna for Hall of Fame, because much like the Hollywood Walk of Fame over here, you buy your star or someone buys it for you. It's not awarded to you. It's politics. And that's not to take away from people. Let's say, for example, in TNA, the beautiful people. Like, they deserve that recognition. I love the beautiful people. They're like one of my favorite tag teams out there. So that's why I got to put them over. So like, it's not to take away from people like that and like whatever. I'm not saying that. It is deserved. And everyone that's been in the Hall of Fame that was well deserving at Beth Phoenix, like another one. Like, I'm not saying it's, because of politics they got it. No. But I'm just saying, like, when people like that finally get it, I'm always one to be like all about it and like retweets USA about it, because it is long awaited and deserved. But anytime, even though on paper, Chyna does deserve that, just let it go, dude. Because I really feel that with her experience with the business and with Hollywood and that business, she just wanted peace. And when you want peace and you reach out to peace and that kind of a life, there's a lot of work you have to do. And I just don't feel like the person she was working to be cared enough to be like rallying up fans to be behind this movement that's like, get her in. It seems like I'm not trying to be a bitch. It seems like a kind of, again, I feel bad saying this, but I had the shot. Remember I said TMI? I feel like it's an ego-driven thing. It's some kind of weird ego-driven thing. And maybe it's to keep her legacy alive. I don't know. It just rubs. What do you think? It just rubs me wrong.
Well, look, I mean, I don't think girls today are getting in the business because of Chyna like they might have been 20 years ago because of Chyna. You know what I'm saying? Now there are girls that are getting in the business that are 17, 18 years old, are getting in the business because of the girls that broke in via the early days of the rebranded NXT. Chyna has essentially been wiped out of existence to anybody who's been watching wrestling for the last 20 plus years. I agree with you. I don't think she would be a person who would want to be in the Hall of Fame, because the person that she considered the love of her life is running the show. And I think that would still be a very bitter pill to swallow. And now that we all know all of the stories of how she found out about their relationship and how he feels about the pornography that she did. And, let's put this out there too. And I mean, I love X-Pac. X-Pac's awesome, but he didn't get removed from the Hall of Fame. for his
Truth.
part in the video that's out there. But still, Chyna, even though I know she did the one, but then she did more. X-Pac is in the one. He didn't get removed from the Hall of Fame. So, I think because of who's in charge, I do not think she would be involved. Now, maybe a licensing deal. You'd see her Chyna action figure. You'd see something like that. Maybe. I could see that. I do not think the Hall of Fame. It's the same thing we're seeing now. Demolition is finally getting their just desserts from WWE, possibly in the Hall of Fame. Bill Eadie sued Vince McMahon in the early 90s. He was a part of that whole concussion lawsuit from 10 years ago. They finally signed them to a Legends deal this last year. So, I think eventually maybe she would have signed that, but I don't think the Hall of Fame and everything that goes with it is kissing the ring to one guy right now. And I don't think it would have happened based off of everything that I had read, everything I had heard, talking to her in 20, whatever the hell it was, 16, 17, whenever she came back from Japan. She had a great career in Japan.
So
it was
amazing.
awesome.
And I would chat with her when she was in Japan. And that gave me hope. And it's crazy because it made me just feel even like it made me want to go to. I've always wanted to go wrestle in Japan, first of all. Not many people know that. From when I first started, why? Who did I say were my first trainers? Rocky Romero, Ricky Reyes, dude. So, like, they're amazing. If you guys don't know them, look them up, dude. Like, it's good wrestling. The Havana Pitbulls, they had
awesome.
solo careers as well. Like, oh my gosh. So I've always been aware. I used to train at the Inoki Dojo here. That's where I met Samoa Joe. That's where I met Bryan Danielson. Like, that's where I met all these freaking people. Like, so Japan was already on my radar.
I could see your I'm sorry to interrupt. I could see you, and I will apologize if I interrupt. I won't just.
Oh my goodness, the
I won't
Chadster.
just interrupt you without apologizing. People in the comments.
Can you just let me talk?
But I would see your character in Japan being super over because of how they get behind a lot of supernatural, I wouldn't even say gimmicks, just concepts. So I could see your character being super, super over.
There's times when I would go audition when they would come down from Japan to the Inoki Dojo. And, my Desire character, which was my first, like, wrestling character. Oh my gosh, I had to burp. Hold on. So
Gonna keep that in and make it even bigger when it's
well, usually I do. Here's the thing. One day we'll probably get one on here, but I could make Booger from Revenge of the Nerds proud. But besides the point,
what a reference.
Oh yeah. So with Japan, like, when my character I first had Desire, like I said, I had the Luna veins according to freaking Romero. It's like I always had this spin of like this darkness. So even though I wasn't like a vampire, I was always like throwing that energy over there. And what you're saying is totally on board because I feel like people that were in charge of those things knew that, and that's why I kept getting seen by these people from Japan. It just wasn't meant, it was my path. But it's so crazy because when I was at one of those, and I think about this actually a lot, when I was at one of those audition shows for Japan at the Inoki Dojo here in LA when it was here, it was a big deal that Chyna and X-Pac were coming down because this was after the tape. I forget what else was going on in their timeline. I think she had already done Surreal Life and all that because the tape came out after that, right? I think.
So I don't remember. First of all, Surreal Life was an awesome show. Number
one.
Oh my
gosh, yes.
I loved the season that she was on, the season that Maven was on were awesome, right? But
I love that franchise in general.
Yeah, the tape itself, I don't remember if it was before or after. I really don't, but nonetheless, impactful.
Yeah.
if you've seen it for multiple reasons.
I've never seen it. I don't want to
Well,
see it.
I mean, listen. I mean,
you're a guy.
it was more research purposes. We'll put
Okay.
it that way.
But the point is, they were still a couple. And something that stood out to me was they were Chyna and X-Pac. Holy crap, they're coming to the dojo. But I'm going to go ahead and bet they weren't in a good place. And I remember X-Pac didn't even have wrestling boots, and he had to borrow wrestling boots from someone to go out there because he was broke. And that's not a dig on him. That's real life. That's real life. You want to know probably why freaking Joni was out there doing porn? Because what else is she going to do that's going to pay her that much? She's freaking Chyna. And then on sets like that, you get professional makeup. There's a professional set. So it feels good. It doesn't feel like someone just has their camcorder and you're da-da-da-da-da. So people don't think about those things. They can have their little opinion on it or whatever, but like they don't think about, you don't know where she was at, where her soul was at. I don't know where X-Pac was because I don't know him that well. He's always been very, very nice to me. I'm friends with people that are friends with him and they always have nice things to say about him. But like, that's something that I randomly think about a lot. I don't know if it was like because it was such a real moment. And then when me, Shelly Martinez, Ariel Salinas has those kind of situations happen. Like I remember I was at this one show. I used to wrestle every week on Sunday because the wrestling school I was going to here in SoCal, they would have a live stream every Sunday and have like a mini show at their place. And to me, if I wasn't booked on that Sunday, I always looked at it as keeping Chris cool, like whatever, had a little storyline. And there was times where the owner's wife of the school, I would have to borrow some of her stuff sometimes because I was a broke ass. And that's when I would reflect on that moment at that show where Joni and X-Pac, everyone was looking with them with stars in their eyes, but the reality was, and it was whispered about because people didn't want to embarrass him, that he had to borrow the boots. So it wasn't like people were like gossiping about it. They were like, oh man, And so it was a real moment. And it's so crazy because that was way before my WWE years. And it was such a real moment. And then when I started living that moment, I was just like, man, now I get it. Now I know why it sticks out to me all these years. It's so freaking crazy. And I don't think people stop to think about how that's the business. And there's so many people out there stuck in those moments that even effing Chyna and X-Pac, who seems to be doing really well for himself these days, were there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very, very good. Absolutely.
Very good. Yes. Like
I don't
positive
think
vibes to him.
Yeah, I don't think people do.
You got to kayfabe it because you don't want to feel embarrassed. It's sad, but but it should be talked about not out of shame, but there's so many people who can relate to that vibe and they are crumbling because they feel shame. We've talked about on here before, shame and how that affects you. Anyway.
I mean, look, I know wrestlers that have had to borrow t-shirts to wear to the ring, and that's within the last 5 years because, look, money gets to be so tight that they have to actually rely on those freebie t-shirts that they get. So, yeah. I think that people who are not privy to that side of the business get lost on it because they're just, and we'll talk about this here in a few minutes because I still have a few more questions for you about this topic, but people, they don't get that portion of it. They see the person, they think the character, they think glitz, glamour, ring, wrestling. Everybody goes home, signs 10,000 autographs, and collects their giant check and goes home to their Lamborghini and their mansion. So I think that's what everybody thinks about the wrestling lifestyle.
1000%. And then there is this community within that, right? That they know that if you're not someone that has had this like big name, specifically in WWE or F, that the women need, and I'm one of them, our wish lists. We need the customs. And then that in itself is a mental toll on us ladies because let's be honest, very few women in the business get paid more than the men. It's just real. It is what it is. And especially in my era, unless you're on top build, you got to be hustling, even if you're a name. Even if you're a name and a draw and you do make your money, you got to hustle harder for that money at times. And then the dudes hate on it because they're like, oh, all you got to do is send some dude your socks. Well, do you think that makes us feel good? Maybe we got the 250 out of the pervert, but now we're over here spiraling out because we feel dark that we sold our freaking socks to this pervert over here to jack off to. It sucks. So you get this mental toll that's put on you. And that's where, like China, I go back to people don't think about maybe she felt that's all she could do, or that was going to help her, or whatever, whatever with the adult stuff. And it sucks because I've been there. Like I've never done porn, but I've done topless and nude. And there's stuff that was very tasteful, but I still hate that it's out there. And then there's stuff that I've done, dude, I was desperate right there, boy. I'll tell you that. And it's like, there's this underground fetish world that the female wrestlers are kind of almost expected to fit in that category, unless you're a Trish Stratus, unless you're a freaking, I don't know who else. Trish just comes at the top. Barbie probably gets asked that too. But like, these different women who are like high up there. I'm not saying that they never get approached with it, but they're put in these fans' head as like kind of untouchable. But if you're like over here on this side, especially if they know your name, you haven't been out there for a while, so it's kind of losing its value, if you will. And so it's like, like I have a friend that does cameos and they're like, I stopped doing them because they want fetish. It's like cameos supposed to be like, hey guys, how's it going? Like a fun thing. It has nothing to do with 18 plus crap. But it's like people feel once your shelf life's a certain type that you gotta like comply to this like whatever. And then when you're in it, you're like, well, we all know this is what goes on and gotta make my freaking money. So like, what am I gonna do? And that's why you have so many women in professional wrestling that struggle with their mental health when they're trying to just hustle and make a living, but they gotta subject themselves. No offense to anyone out there, everyone has their own journey, and it makes them feel icky, and we have to like deal with it in the ways we do, and it's very draining.
There are some out there right now that are doing not the cameos. I know, because like you said, there are people out there that get some insane requests via cameo, but who are using the OnlyFans and the Forever Fans or whatever all these fan exclusive sites are that pop up, and they go the extra mile for the fan requests. That you see it posted on X, you see it posted on Reddit, you see it posted on Instagram. Like you see people talking and talking, and it makes the people that don't do that. What does it do to you? I mean, like, does it decrease your value? Does it
Yeah.
make anybody who requests it and gets it think that, oh, well, I could just go up to any female superstar and say, hey, so and so, I'm going to drop a name, did this for me. What's it going to take to get this from you?
That's
Like, is
what they
that their
do,
pickup
Chad.
line?
That's what they do. This one guy, here's the thing. I'm gonna go. Oh, let's get some TMI out right now. This one makes me upset.
Come
There's
on,
this
let's
one
hear it.
dude that on and off joins my Patreon, but he can't anymore because I blocked him.
Oh,
So one of the like I had a friend who she literally told me, I won't say her who it is, but she's a really well-known name in the wrestling world, and she would vent to me how she would get paid well by this specific fan to do the dominatrixy thing of like talking down to him and and she told me how it weared on her and it just made her not feel good, but how she, she needs the money, like blah blah blah. And it's so crazy because then when this dude has on and off been on my site, on my Patreon, he brings her up to where one time I was like, oh yeah, she told me about it. And so they do name drop and they do say, well, so and so did, because she's I guess you would say, bigger name than me. So he's like, well, blah blah blah. And that's when I was like, yeah, she told me all about it. You're the one? Oh, you're the one. Because she told me about it. And she told me how it made her feel really, really bad. And she didn't let it, I said the whole 9 yards. And so they do play that game. They play, so now you got the fans playing this game so they can get their little dicks hard and get off. And it's like, it's so dark because it's like, to me, it's like you sexually cannot get off unless someone's sitting there telling you how worthless you are. And this, like, that's not cool. Like, everyone has their own thing. But I'm sorry, there's nothing good that comes out of that. And that's why my friend, when she was venting to me, felt the way she did. And so it's like they do it's gross. And then what's even grosser is some of these gals, I'm sorry, ladies, but it's true. They have hired people to talk to these perverts. So now these people think they're talking to these ladies of wrestling, and they're not.
Wow.
And I've told some of these girls, it's a thing, not just in wrestling, but
what a work
overall. Yeah, it's a work. You're probably talking to a dude.
Oh man, that's great. See, like there's you can't take the worker out of the worker.
Here's the thing. Make sure to bleep this name out. Okay, I'm about to tell you a name. Okay, because this is somebody
I gotta write a timestamp.
Timestamp. This is bigger than wrestling. This is a well-known actress. Okay, told me her husband was the one who does the DMs. Her husband, not her. So it's not just wrestling. It's all across the board. And so my question to some of these ladies was, how does it make you feel though if like somebody has this in their head, this whole like scenario / in their head relationship with you, and you have no idea, they go to a meet and greet? Don't you feel that energy? And so that's why, Chad, I stopped and I call myself a failed OnlyFans model, because I'm too sensitive. I can feel people's energy. I don't like it. I can't have a switch where I turn it on and off of like what I'm receiving. And I wouldn't be cool because people are like, oh, just do what I do. Hire somebody to talk to them. That's how I do it. I just send them all my photos for the month and then they just do the thing. And I'm like, no. Like,
do we want to know the thing they do?
No.
I don't think we do.
No.
We can assume.
But like, yeah, dude. And so it's a thing. And then I feel that the consumer of this content / relationships that people think they have, I feel that deep down, even if they feel that could be the case, they don't care because their fetish is being fulfilled. So that's feeding into where you're taking it further than when people used to pop in a VHS and watch porno. You know what I mean? This is like on a whole
100%.
Other level. It's really a thing, and that's why I just don't want any part of it, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. But again, like I said, the names that are out there from the wrestling world that do it and go all the way, it is. And I won't name them just because I don't want people to go out. I mean, if they want to support the people, that's fine. But I just don't want you going out there. I'm not going to name them for the sake of naming them now. But
why should you? There's no reason.
Right. But it's like, I was just shocked at what's out there that you can find fairly easily just because people, they get it and they post it out there. It's fairly easy to navigate through. But it's shocking if you know people who are just on TV within the last 5 years and they do whatever and they're making a shitload of money. And it's like they never have to work again because of this. And you see it all the time. The people that are now YouTube stars and they go to that route and they make $3 million in the first month that they're on it. It's like, what the hell?
You know,
Where's
here's the
it
thing.
coming from?
When back in the day, I know we touched on it a little bit before in one of our shows, I learned about making money off of YouTube through people who now are the big names in YouTube. At that point, they were building it up, right? So I saw the rise of YouTube. And so on my journey with all of that, specifically when in my 30s, I went back to the indies and was doing that full time, I was so jealous, not in the ugly way, but in a that's what I want for myself. So I want to make those steps way with these YouTubers of making money on being on YouTube. And then when the OnlyFans stuff started being more mainstream and seeing YouTubers who I would look at as inspiration of like, see this gal over here, she's just doing a live stream, hanging out with her fans, eating some Subway sandwich, and not in a sexual way, but just like,
No, it's
you know,
stupid.
just
Could
hanging
be to
out,
somebody though.
just hanging out, you know, and like I was like, I want to do that. I want to just hang out with my fans and maybe have a little some food and maybe like a little vino and have a good time and make money. Are you serious? And so when I saw they were taking that route, to me, and maybe I could be wrong, everyone has their own story, but me looking at the big picture, everyone wants to go for easy money. And with easy money comes a price. And because I've been involved in the fetish world since I was like 18 years old, I understand it in a different way. And I know the toll because it was a long time ago. And now you fast forward and seeing how the industry has changed, where a lot of fetish stuff is very mainstream. And they got these young girls, whatever. What I realize that maybe some of these younger people than me don't is, yeah, the money might seem whatever or whatever, and you're just like, oh, this and that. But I'm here to say it takes a mental toll. And to be and like the fetish girls that I know that have been fetish models since the Y2K eras to present times, they will even say these things. They will even say, you know, it's not for everyone. Like it's a lot. And to survive and still and not lose yourself or like whatever. And I feel like things like OnlyFans getting mainstreamed, it's like making these girls be very haphazard with their energy. And it's going to bite them in the end. And it's really, really sad, but they got it. That's their journey. They got to go through it. But as a old ass bitch that's been doing this for a long ass time, I'm like, girls, come on.
Smarten up.
You know, but it's their journey. And I'm not here to judge anyone. I don't think anyone's lesser than or greater than. I just, because I'm old now and I've been in this business for so long, I just see the writing on the wall, you know? That's all.
Yes, but to that statement, you use the businesses that you've been associated with to educate yourself, right? Everything that you've done, whether it's, like you said, modeling or film or wrestling or whatever, you didn't just do it and move on from it. You got engulfed in it and ensconced in it to the point where you can be an expert in these things and then regurgitate things back out. I don't think that people can necessarily do that a lot in that world. Now, again, somebody that logs in, sets up an account, makes $3 million, I would love to sit with them and find out how they did that. But that's not everybody. That's not everybody. Because, you don't just hear about the 18-year-old girl doing it or the 20-year-old girl doing it. You hear about random, 36-year-old housewife setting it up because she's done doing the laundry and she wants to make extra money. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like what we're saying with the Ozempic last week. It's become a fad. It's not just something you do to make a career path for yourself because all right, hey, not everybody does the old get on the Greyhound bus to go to New York to become a model, get on the the Greyhound to go to LA to become an actor. It's you can jump on YouTube and recite a scene from your favorite movie and you could be discovered. You do things differently than you used to. So the way I look at it as if you can make 3 million in a month, I tip my cap, but not everybody does that.
Because it's not easy, and then there's politics involved. It's a whole other episode. We should have a whole
okay, that's another one.
Sexy content episode or only because it's not just OnlyFans. There's other platforms as well.
No,
but like a whole OnlyFans themed kind of thing because I know because I have friends that still do it. They don't like to talk about these things because they know it could affect their page. I don't give a crap because I don't have a page. So, and the people on my Patreon know I don't do OnlyFans because of that. So I am more than happy to dive into it because I think some ladies out there could maybe stumble across it. Just like I was talking earlier about Chyna back in the day when I was looking for some help online. Maybe they'll stumble across it and like it'll help them because like I said, I watched the industry change. That's how long I've been in it to where it was like a dirty little secret to Cardi B has an OnlyFans. Like,
Yeah. Bella Thorne, Iggy Azalea.
Bella Thorne is the one who messed it up for all of us. We'll talk about that on the OnlyFans episode.
Okay, yeah. Put it off to the side. And again, I said this last week. We are 47 minutes into recording and haven't even touched the topic that we decided to talk about this week. This was all off the cuff because I said, talk about your experience with Chyna. And here we are 40 minutes later. And I actually have a follow-up question that I want to go back to before we even get into the topic.
Let's do it.
Now, you talked about Rocky Romero and Ricky Reyes, okay? And and again, I know this can be a whole topic for another episode. So I only want to ask this one question. Okay, because I know you're probably in OVW, you're probably in developmental at this point. When they were in ROH, okay, and they were kind of kicking ass, because I used to go to the ROH shows in like 04, 05, 06, okay? So they were in the Havana Pitbulls and doing the Rottweilers with Homicide at that point. So I want to know, because I know, again, you probably were starting your developmental journey. Were you ever approached or asked to join ROH to be with that crew? Because you fit in very well with that crew. So that seems like that would be a perfect fit.
Oh my gosh. That would have been the effing bomb. But no, not at all.
Really?
Not at all. I don't even think I was on ROH's radar at all at that point. Which is fine, but I've always, because of the pit bulls, because here's the thing. Okay, you have Rocky Romero and you have Ricky Reyes. And if you put them side by side, vibe-wise, it's like Rocky Romero is kind of the more like easier going one. And then Reyes is the more like, I'm going to beat your ass right now. And so I remember when I first started training, Reyes was very cold to me. And now I know it's because there was a lot of girls that would come and go. They would like train for just a few weeks, and then it would fall out. And so the trauma in me was like, I want him to like me. So I was just like going above and beyond to impress Reyes because I wanted good old Reyes to give me the stamp of approval. And it wasn't just because, I just want you to like me. It was, I was willing to put in the work. And I liked how hard he was on everyone. That kind of like drill sergeant-y, I needed that kind of discipline. I liked that. I needed someone to be like, you just are the shits right now. Do it again. I needed that kind of training. Like, I know some people don't like that and that rough around the edges, but for me, I need that kind of discipline and I like it. I like straightforwardness, kind of I guess you would say like jock mentality vibes. Like I like that. I like the just cuss me out if I'm messing up. So it helps me do better. So trying to win over Reyes, I was very invested in the things that they were doing. And the thing is because they inspired me. They were like so good in the ring. And even though Reyes was like the hard ass, there was times I think about this often. You know, during training, we would have practice matches and you would just call like to learn how to call it in the ring. And I remember the ring, the way the room was set up is there was 2 rings, and in between the rings there was this elliptical machine. And after some of the heat that Reyes took as the heel and he powdered out, he went over to the elliptical and he looked like he ran a mile and he was going and I just thought it was the funniest thing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's when it clicked what you can do with wrestling." It wasn't just about the moves in there. It was about the energy of it. He was being such an asshole. He powdered out because the baby face was getting the comeuppance too much, went on the cardio machine and was acting like he was on there for 10 miles to where the baby face had to come and grab him out and put him in. It's something that stood out. And that's like, I love those moments. And when I'd watch them and then I respected them and like, oh, it was like, and Frankie Kazarian's in there too. And unless you're in SoCal, you probably don't know, but John Man Ice Black, I always got to shout him out. And so because of my obsession of trying to win over Reyes, I learned a lot about Japan. I learned a lot about Mexico. I learned a lot because I wanted to absorb. And I'll never forget when I finally got like his approval. I was like, yes. And it wasn't like, oh, yay. It was like a badge of honor. And that's when I got invited to go train at the Inoki Dojo. And I got to meet, you know, Brian Danielson and Samoa Joe. And I love that too, because I remember we'd do drills and there was this one we would do where we'd do circuits and there would be like Joe would have this like body bag he would hold, and then you had to keep in rhythm, and he would like hit me hard on the head if I wasn't doing it. And it's like, I loved it. I loved it. It was like freaking Cobra Kai, the Cobra Kai kind of vibes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I need that, dude. And my senseis, they were just okay. I was gonna say they weren't being jerks like Sensei Kreese on Karate Kid, but he wanted them to be good and killers out there. And that's what they wanted out of me. And they loved it. And so hearing you ask if I would have gone or if there was talks of ROH, I never even thought of that. But that would have been so amazing because I had so much, and still do, respect for ROH and the people that have been on there, the hard hitters on there that made their names on there. Like, to me, I always felt if I went to ROH or Japan, people would take me serious. And it makes me sad. My journey never led me to either. And it sucks because there was one time they were looking for girls in Japan. And there's this girl who I love her, but she's a bitch, man. She cock blocked me from going. And I'll never forget that.
No, that's the worst. Look, it's always, unfortunately, those politics, they come and bite you. Unfortunately, you guys.
Timestamp 54. I'm gonna say her name. Bleep it. Bleep it.
I gotta write it. Okay, bleep it. Okay. That's a 100% ROH mainstay as well. So there you go.
Cock blocked me from it. And I remember when she was like looking for girls, and I told her, she went like, this was her answer to me. Huh. It's always so weird to see what people want to go to Japan. Huh. It's funny. And she walked away from me and she was supposed to be scouting. And I was like, bitch, here I am. This is what I want to do. Let's do it. And this was after my WWE stint.
Oh, that's just jelly then. That's just jelly.
This was after. So one can say maybe she thought less of me. No, I went and did something you never did.
Well, I mean, look, WWE people had a stigma in that ROH world. And I mean, Jeff Hardy got booed out of the building when Hardy booed vociferously when he performed in ROH after he left WWE. and he did a handful of ROH shows. He did the Willow the Wisp character, and he got booed out of the friggin' building.
I
And
would
I
think that
mean,
would be a positive for them there.
you would look that I loved those shows. I used to go to tons of them. Jersey, Philly, everywhere in that corridor. I mean, I go with friends and we would go. And actually, for a little while, Justin Credible was a part of ROH. He was in the Carnage crew with Tony DeVito. And I forget, so escaping my name. The other name's escaping me at the moment. And we would drive Justin Credible, another buddy of mine, to the shows because he lived in our area. So we'd hang around and be a part of the atmosphere. It was no joke. WWE people, not really the friendliest foes for ROH at the time. So I could see it. But I could see the SoCal people stepping up for somebody, because that SoCal group seems a little tighter. It seems like the SoCal wrestlers always had like a little bit more of like that Japanese edge to them. Like you're saying, you trained in the dojo. So, I mean, I can't imagine why you wouldn't get a little bit more of a look. But if she's cock blocking, then that's a different story.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of people here in SoCal, because like I've said many times, and I will continue to say, I was brought up in this business old school. You got to pay forward your territory. I have been wanting to pay for my territory here in SoCal. Oh, Shelly from Cali, come on, bitch. Most people here in Cali are completely weirdos to me. Completely weirdos, and they always have been. And after I went and made my name in WWE and came back, people have just been weird. And I thought it was weird because I'm like, dude, especially like when I would go and train, I was training 2 days a week. One of them was lucha training, hardcore. Like I didn't have to do that. I would watch people my entire career that were like vets or went and did something. They did come to these practices. Hardly any of them would ever get in the ring, man. I was always in that damn ring because it wasn't about me being the vet. It was about me being there like everyone else, showing up because I want to be a good wrestler. So it just really annoys me, the disrespect SoCal wrestling community has given me. It makes me want to throw the F up. And what makes me want to throw the F up even more, I ride hard for SoCal, and yet East Coast and other countries ride harder for me than SoCal ever did, man. There's a handful of people in SoCal that like they aren't that way. But generally speaking, SoCal turned their FM back to me. And it is so annoying because I wanted nothing more than to complete my wrestling cycle here in SoCal.
Right.
But where was my last match? It was in Germany. Why? Because they showed me more respect there. I'm not talking about the fans.
Well,
I'm talking about the business.
I say you guys were always over in Germany, so I can see that. But
Schultz,
you should, you should get a little love from SoCal. We got to talk about another guy from California, which was supposed to be our main topic here 1 hour in. Paul London, rather outspoken Californian. Look, Paul London has done a billion interviews. Okay. I interviewed him, I think twice, maybe 3 times. He pops up on everybody's show. They all ask him the same questions. Well, the smiling backstage in the Vince McMahon car explosion, cruiserweight division. They all ask him the same stuff. But I caught a retweet from you that 100% caught my eye, and what is why I want to talk about Paul London. And what you retweeted was someone's tweet that said Paul London is giving Bret Hart a run for his money for most miserable retired wrestler. Does he say anything positive about anybody in his Chris Van Vliet interview? What are your thoughts on this? And I have to tell you something. If you haven't heard a Paul London interview, he just tells it like it is. I mean, that's basically the bottom line.
That's why my reply was, that's his experiences, dude. Here's the thing. Effing Paul London. Here we go. So, Paul London. When I used to train my lucha class back in the day, WPBW, shout out. That's where some of you out there may remember Little Cholo from Lucha Underground. That's where I met him. A lot of great talent came out of WPW. Shout out Martine, the owner. So we would talk about Paul London a lot, me and Little Cholo. And it's because we loved him, dude. Him and Spanky. And Paul London and Spanky is who gave me the stars in my freaking eyes for professional freaking wrestling, not just trying to get WWF, but the stories when I'd hear that freaking Spanky, Brian Kendrick. Moving forward, I always call him Spanky. I don't call him Brian Kendrick. So there you go. So Spanky, hearing, he was sleeping in cars to be like, and going show to show, and then hearing like the road stories and like people who like all these things, him and Paul London. This is before they were a team. They were people who inspired my mind, body, and soul with wrestling. I wanted those stories. So he's very important to me. And then the night that I feel got me hired, remember we talked about in one of our other episodes when Laurinaitis was like, oh, you just got to lose some weight, And then I did. And I remember shortly after this getting looked at, it was in Anaheim, I got hired. So I know that night was my final test before I got hired. And afterwards, when I didn't even know that was the test, afterwards we went to the some restaurant, me and the wrestlers, afterwards, maybe it was at Applebee's, I don't know. And I remember me and Paul London were outside of Applebee's and we were having a deep conversation, man. And he walked me to my car and it always stuck with me. Then fast forward, Paul and Spanky become Paul and Spanky. Need I say more? And then I get to know them better when I'm on the road. And there was a time, because I always had like unpaid tickets, so my license was always habitually getting suspended when I was younger. And there were stupid tickets like parking, or tags. That was the big one, tags. My tags being expired. So when I was in WWE, it was really hard for me because I always had a car jump with people because I couldn't rent a car on my own because my license was suspended. And there's a lot of times I felt very orphaned, like, how am I going to get to the show? And one of the loops, it was me, Paul, Sabu, and there was a fourth person. I can't remember. Maybe it was Spanky. I can't remember. And that's when I really felt I saw Paul in different layers of him. And I was like, this dude's awesome. And then when I went back to the indies in my 30s, I did this show and I always forget where it was. Do you know who Brian Cage is?
Of course.
Okay, Brian Cage, of course, right? The Machine.
Mr. Get My Shit In.
He's good though, bro. So Brian Cage, Paul London, me, and I'm so sorry for whoever I'm leaving out. There's a group of us, but those two I really bonded with on that trip. And the thing is, with like Paul London, there was never like, I was trying to hook up or anything like that. It was always very pure, And so that trip, I felt I got to know Paul even more. And it was so cool because it was so carny. We were wrestling at some tattoo convention and it was at a
Nice.
casino. So they had us hooked up for a couple days. And so like there was like we got the food buffet, they paid for it, everything was taken care of. It was around Halloween season. So like we had one of our handlers take us to like some haunted house thing. That it was so freaking cool. It was so cool. Brian Cage was having a coma for eating too many carbs because he depleted himself from carbs to look jacked, brother, for the show, and now he can eat carbs. It was like what I love out of wrestling. So I say all of this just to give you guys a bigger picture of he's just not Paul London to me. He's something. He's an entity of its own, Paul London. So it was 11. I had just broken up with my boyfriend that I was with for 3 years outside the business, and I had to move temporarily to my friend's house, which just to make the story seem more, interesting, total famous rock star. I won't say who it is because they always told me never to say, but, me and my sister, my dogs Fred and Ethel, we were, like, staying in his guest house, and even though on the outside looking in, it was a good on paper kind of thing. I was like living in Beverly Hills in the guest house of this mansion of this rock star. Like it was a low point for me because I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, man. And this was right before I decided to go back into doing indies. And I was waiting to get approved of this apartment that me and my sister, the studio apartment in Hollywood that we are trying to get. And I didn't know what to do. So what I did is I popped in High Spot's shoot interview of Paul and Spanky where they get drunk and they just spill the tea.
That one is
and
great.
Everything that I was going through, I needed to hear these two people who they had no idea how important they were to me in my wrestling career. And they were just going off, brother. So what you're saying, to your credit, he's always been this way. And he's always just said his experiences. I'm sorry that pisses some people off, that some people were assholes, because guess what? There was a lot of people who were assholes to Paul London. Yeah. And I remember when I was in WWE with Kevin, I would see Spanky and Paul, and they would be walking around with like Hawaiian shirts over their gear. And I was like, dude, they're BJ Honeycutt and freaking BJ Honeycutt and oh my, I'm having a brain fart. BJ Honeycutt and from MASH. And I love MASH. I'm having because the shot's getting to me and I hardly had anything to eat tonight. But anyways, they reminded me for the guys of MASH because I was like, dude, and then in MASH, that's who those characters were. They were doing a good job. They were surgeons, but they were cracking jokes to where it's irritating the other, like the grumpy guy in MASH. And they would wear the Hawaiian shirts. They would be drinking in their little bunker and this and that. Hawkeye,
Yes.
Hawkeye and Honey. How could I forget Hawkeye?
I hate MASH personally, but I was trying to dig through my
love
database.
MASH. I love MASH. That's why it's weird that I forgot. But
yeah, when I heard the MASH theme song, I knew that it was party. The lights are on. The lights are going off. The party's over. I hated MASH.
Most people feel that way, but since I was a kid, I've been watching it. So that's why it's really weird. I had that brain fart. I blame it on the vodka. So to me, I was like watching them be that. And sometimes they'd come from the parking lot smelling like cannabis. I was like, dude, that's what I want. And then like that started to become me. Not that people would really notice, but like I was just like, it's hard working here because of it's a lot of maintenance, but they're making it look like fun, man. And I loved it because at that time they were already freaking Brian Kendrick and Paul London. They were already established, And so when I hear these stories that Paul throughout the years says, I'm here to vouch. Yeah, he did have some good times. I saw it and it inspired me. But he's also sharing the experiences because people are asking them. They want to know. They're booking him on their shows or booking him on their podcast because they want to know the tea. He's not just being like, oh, did I tell you about the time? No, he's being asked these things. So he's being honest. So I don't understand why he has to be labeled like a Bret Hart as being bitter when they're just saying their story. You can have a good example I can like correlate it with is I listened to this podcast called Girls Next Level, which are from the Girls Next Door, which was Hugh Hefner's girlfriends. Now, the one that was his main girlfriend, Holly Madison, she had a
Yeah.
terrible experience with him. And then Bridget Marquardt, who was one of the girlfriends, she had a way more pleasant experience with the whole situation because she wasn't in that first lead girlfriend role. So
Right.
she didn't have to deal with it. So when you're put in these positions and you work hard to be in these positions or whatever, your story can have different story. You can have the same person can say, I had the best time of my life in WWE. It was a lot of hard work. It wasn't always positive, but all in all, it was an amazing experience. And that can be 1000% true. Just like with me and Laurinaitis. He never creeped out on me. Like he was always like, I enjoyed his company, but I also know the facts. But my personal experience with him was not that. And then there's other people that say something completely different. Now, I don't understand why London people want to say he's another Bret Hart when they're sharing their stories. Isn't that why you're watching? Because you
That's why
want to
you're
know the
invited on this
tea?
show. That's why they're invited on. And I gotta tell you this: he's not Bret Hart, okay? And that's Bret Hart is Bret Hart, and Bret Hart can say anything, and he's not bitter either. We've even said there's reasons why Bret Hart says what he wants, and that's a different story. He is that generation's honky tonk man. Okay.
Yeah.
The 80s generation, the 80s, 90s, they got the honky tonk man. Your generation, the 2000s to early 2010s, you have Paul London. That's the guy. He's going to tell everything that you ask. Anything you ask, he's going to give an answer. But it's the account that you quote tweeted, the social media wrestling accounts. To me, you shouldn't be allowed to post anything before your sign on date. Whenever you registered your Twitter or X account, you shouldn't be allowed to post anything about wrestling before that sign-on date because they bastardize the years prior wrestling for all the good stuff they share on this date in wrestling history. Check out this awesome edit of Kevin Thorne and Ariel. Look at this great, match clip or edit that they put together. The stupid shit that they regurgitate and then people take and run with or quote as gospel has bastardized pro wrestling that now people are going to go, oh, Paul London's so bitter. Oh my gosh. Oh, Paul London's so bitter. This is the worst. Or maybe it's just a ploy to get people to listen to the damn interview for all we know. But I look at him more as not Bret Hart because I don't think Bret Hart's bitter. Bret Hart is Bret Hart. He's this generation's honky tonk man.
It annoys me because I'm thinking about a time when I was on a show with Paul and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And the stories were already out. The narrative of him being this like bitter, like for saying things on shoot interviews or whatever, was already out there. And I was in a really sensitive time. That's when I was with that ex-boyfriend I talked about before where everyone knew who was cheating on me. It was at that show.
Yeah.
And so I remember, even though so much was like going on, when I saw Paul London, wrestler to wrestler and wrestler to wrestler that's like struggling in that moment, meaning me, he brought me without even knowing it so much positivity and recharging just with his energy, happy to be at the show. He came out in his spaceman suit. The crowd loved it when he took it off. Like everything that he did out there, he gave 110%. He looked good. He connected with the fans. Like he reminded me once a freaking again why I love wrestling. So being that he has been habitually in my wrestling career, in and out, unbeknownst to him, recharging me. And then here's this, because I love Spanky and Paul so much and had that vibe, I was always like, I want to manage them one day. And I kept politicking and trying to get in people's ear. It wouldn't happen. But at the gathering of the Juggalos, 2 nights in a row, I was able, they let me go out there and manage Paul London and freaking Spanky. And it was one of the highlights of my freaking career because
Nice.
of this impression those two gave me. So that's why I am going to take up online for freaking Paul London, because I'm someone, by the way, that was in the business, that worked with him, and that's who he is to me. He's always been a straight shooter from back in the day before in Anaheim when we were having those talks and all that. He was the same dude from when the last time I saw him, man. And then when I see him in clips on interviews, that's the guy I know. So nothing's changed, except people are just little bitches and don't like it when people poo poo on things or people that they like without going, oh, that sucks. I like that wrestler, or I like that person, or I whatever. But that's interesting that this person had that situation. Doesn't mean you have to turn on what you like, but why do you gotta talk shit about Paul saying he's bitter now? Like, and then
Yeah.
to call, oh, no, the next Bret Hart, and we've talked about Bret Hart and that whole thing, and it's like Bret Hart doesn't have to be bitter. Like, he's Bret Hart, man. Like,
Bret Hart.
it's just, it pisses me off. And going back to honky tonk, I remember because I was infamous for doing shoot interviews because I felt that was a cool way for me to get things off my chest and express myself. And I remember a couple years ago, I saw him tweet out, like, generally, it wasn't to me or anything, just a like general tweet saying something to the effect of like, wrestlers, stop doing shoot interviews. These people aren't your friends. They're not trying to make you feel good. And he's like the king of shoot interviews, right? So when I was like, oh, if he's saying this, there's some credibility to this. And so that told me that Honky, and the times I spent with Honky Tonk, I freaking love Honky Tonk, man. I have
He's
his
the
action
man.
figure. I have his action figure in my house next to an action figure that someone made of me that was in my Day of the Dead, and they hang out together. They live together. So Honky, like, I love him. I will always support him. He, in the conversations I had, just freaking brutally honest and doesn't have anything to lose. So yeah, he's gonna say what he wants. He's not gonna sugarcoat it. Paul London, I'm gonna go ahead and say Paul London knows who he is at the end of the day. And he knows how to stay true to who he is at the end of the day. And it's not like when he does these things, he's like, in my opinion, going, oh, I'm just gonna go bury da 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 da. I think he's just like answering honestly. So like, it just
That's it.
annoys me. It annoys me. It's like, this man isn't going and created his own YouTube channel and just doing like, let me tell you this, and then oh, and then the I smiled and da, 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 da. Like, he's not doing. People are asking him. What is he supposed to do? Say, I don't want to talk about that. Oh, I'm tired of talking about. Then he's another asshole. Oh, now he doesn't even want to talk about that time where he got in trouble. You can't win.
No.
And much like I've
And
talked about with the Batista situation, I'll go ahead and butt my nose where it doesn't belong and take up for politics.
Yep. And there'll be some new podcast that pops up that has 10 followers and gets 1 view that'll have Paul London on and ask him the same questions that he just answered on the biggest wrestling interview podcast in the world. So it's just going to happen again. And it's a cycle that goes on and so on and so on and so on. So,
You know what's interesting though about Paul London, real quick? I have been trying to get in touch with him for years, and I don't know why it hasn't happened. I tweet him because here's the thing. I'm not going to give any details because this is just what I need to know. I have some questions for him that I need to know, and it's very serious stuff. And I wish he would just give me the time of day. I don't know if he feels, because he was on Rene Dupree's podcast and Rene Dupree buried me, like, if he thinks I'm gonna like yell at him or something. I don't care. Rene Dupree can hate me all he wants. I don't care. That's fine. I have a question I need to ask him, and I really wish he'd give me that time of day because it's a very important question. So just throwing that out there. Paul London, I love you. I think you're freaking awesome. Please DM me back. I've blown up your Instagram. I've blown up your Twitter and the DM. Or no, not the DMs on the Twitter, but I've tweeted you. Please get back to me. I beg of you.
Please, Paul. And Paul, I interviewed you 3 times, and I always had a great time doing it.
He's
You're always
awesome.
very good. Now, Rene, on the other hand, always interesting. I have stories about those interviews as well. So.
You interview him? He hates me. He did a thing. Fans were sending me this link a couple years ago, and it was like a Mary Kill F or whatever. Is that the game name?
Oh, F, Mary, Kill.
Yeah. And he went first. He's like, "Oh, I can tell you right away, Shelly. I wanted to kill her the first moment I ever met her." Like he went in, dude, and he even mixed up some like details, which is fine because like I've learned sometimes I kind of mix 2 different kind of scenarios together, and I'm working on like trying to decode those things. So I don't hate him on that, like whatever. But yeah, he really went hard in on me, and that's fine. Like he can have his opinion. I really don't care. But that's why I wonder, because I know that Paul, when I saw that clip, he was like all over Renee's like channel at that time. And so it seemed like they were collabing a lot. So I don't know if he thought like maybe I was like mad or whatever, but I could not care less about that. I need to talk to him real quick. It doesn't even have to be like anything like a phone call. Like I just real quick, I need to have a question to ask.
He's the luckiest guy whoever started a podcast, because he had a very skilled guy started with him. He never has a microphone. He's got the worst headroom I've ever seen on video. I mean, he's literally like, he needs to be walked with a leash, like basically across things. Like, I don't know how he even is I'm impressed. I mean, with the numbers he gets, it's insane, but he has nothing to do with it. He has absolutely nothing to do with the success of it. He's just got some very good people helping him behind the scenes.
Must be nice.
It'd be nice, you know.
Must be nice. I'm over here. I spent hair, makeup, lighting, freaking webcam.
Chadster Face. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
Chadster Face.
I mean, come on. Before we wrap up, do you want to cover your last topic?
It's going to take too long. It's okay.
All right, we'll cover that
come back
next time.
Week. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I mean, again, like I said, for 45 to 50 friggin' minutes, we didn't even get into the topic that we were talking about on paper. So when we say it's TMI, we friggin' mean it with every piece of our being. So you've now been with us for 4 episodes of TMI. And look, we see you. We see that people are commenting. We see people are watching. And the more you tune in, the more we are going to churn out. So get your ass over to @Shelly Martinez channel on YouTube. Tell a friend, because then they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. That's a Wayne's World reference, just in case anybody didn't realize. But we have not only our episodes, we've got our clips, we've got shorts. Anything that is going to go on in the world of TMI is on the Shelly Martinez channel. But if you want more from me, you can head on over to X. It's @ChadEMB on X and @IB Exclusives on Instagram. And I'll even throw this one out there. If you have any questions for myself, if you have any questions for Shelly, you can submit them to allpodcastquestions@gmail.com. So there's another little link to add to your podcasting repertoire.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end it. If you guys want to look at my stuff, shellymartinez.net/links. It's all there. Be there or be square. And I look forward to next week's show, because the segment I had planned, I really think is something that needs to just be out there in the open for us all to just gossip about what Shelly Martinez just said again. Damn it. So stay tuned, subscribe, keep your notifications on.
That's right. So from coast to coast, we got snow. She's got hot. We will get out of here for this week. And for Shelly from Cali, this is the Chadster. We will catch you on the flip side.